in my newest job, I've had this job since September. So it's been exactly 3 months since I've joined this company. And what's been nice about this company is I've been doing a lot of talking to an audience. So I handle two things: handling these webinars where I'm a host for the experts that come on the quote unquote show. And on the flip side, I'm also hosting what we call office hours on Discord. And so with this office hour, I typically jump into our Discord channel. Usually people will ask questions in the audience, and I will be the one to either answer them out loud, or sometimes other people on the team are inside the chat to answer as well. I'm actually really surprised based on how long I've been doing this, how fast time can go. Because, on the surface, and especially before I even started doing these office hours and webinars, there was that knee-jerk reaction of, oh God, like an hour? What am I going to do and talk about for an hour? Granted, it's actually been reduced to 40 minutes, but still, like, I'm sure it's a lot different than, having to speak in front of an actual audience, a physical audience for 40 minutes. But before I got used to this, I would think, oh God, like, how am I going to fill this time? I would worry about moments where I'm quiet. And after a while, after doing that for quite some time, you kind of start to realize, if there's silence, then so what? Just let it be, I feel like that actually does make sense in this day and age, because whether or not you've noticed, there's just so much noise out there. And that noise is typically constant. It's either always happening in the background, either like a consistent hum. There's a YouTube video that you might put on, and then in between you'll have an ad that plays, and your brain kind of gets used to really tuning that out. And I feel like having those bouts of silence is not only more natural in this unnatural world, but it's almost like a nice break, There was one time where I was watching a YouTube video, and there was a moment where I thought it was a bug at the time. Maybe it was. Maybe it's intentional. If it was intentional, then kudos to the people that, were advertising whatever they were selling. But there was an ad that popped up inside a YouTube video that I was watching that was completely silent. And mind you, the video that I was watching, you could obviously tell the difference between video playing and the ad playing. And so for a good 15-20 seconds, it was just absolute silence. And so, I think I was doing something at the time, either washing dishes or, looking at my phone to check up on work, whatever. And, for a good 5-10 seconds, the silence was deafening, as they say, or that's what I would say. So within 5 seconds, I looked up at the screen like, oh, did the TV turn off? Like, what's going on? Like, did I accidentally mute? And I saw that, on the screen there was whatever they were selling. And that silence was very striking to me, because I realized, oh, wow. Sure, I could turn the TV off. And, there are moments where I have the TV off. I actually don't watch too much TV. Okay, maybe I take that back. I do watch a lot of YouTube and media on my Plex server. But having that little bit of silence was a nice break. Not as a direct result of that, but it did get me to kind of think, well, we should appreciate the silence a lot more, And I think in relation to that, I'm also of the mindset, going back to what I mentioned before, it's okay to be silent sometimes. If you have nothing to contribute or to say, then shut your mouth. You don't have to say anything. In fact, I think we could all do with a lot more listening these days, because, based on the climate that's going on right now, social climate, I think we should all recognize that we're either talking at each other or past each other, but not to each other. And I think a large degree of that is because we're not listening to each other. There was one concept that I had read in, I think it was like a mental health article about The idea of, are you listening with the intent to respond, or are you listening with the intent to understand? And that, I think the idea is, you're talking with the intent to reply regardless of whatever the person had already said. We tend to talk without listening to the other person. I do this all the time, right? And I'm trying to get better at this, and I think that's really what's most important, is we need to listen more to the other people, and we also need to kind of give ourselves the ability to grow, the room and ability to grow, right? Because if I sit here and say, wow, I really suck at listening to other people, how am I going to get any better? Because I'm already expecting myself to not get better. I'm putting myself in a position where I'm already talking down to myself. We can all just be a little bit easier on ourselves. And especially in this society, this day and age, we can probably take a step back. And before I tell you to be easy on others, we need to be easy on ourselves, right? There's that whole adage of, you're on a plane and you need to, what are those, the oxygen masks drop. What is it that the flight attendants always say? They say, make sure you secure your own mask before putting other people's masks on. Now, it's easy to say that people don't really care or look out for one another. And I think there's some truth to that. But I also do think it's because we are, number one, too caught up with the cycle of just trying to survive in this crazy world. But then number two, we're all just really hard on ourselves. And I think really, this is a really roundabout way of saying we should all just try to be easier on ourselves. Because I don't know about you, but it's just really tiring to just be hard on yourself all the time. And, you know, you might feel like you're not in a position to be easier on yourself. I've definitely been in that situation where, you know, let's say it's something as asinine as, oh, I did absolutely nothing today. I woke up middle of the day, 2 p.m. I didn't even do the dishes in the sink. It's piled up. Laundry, that's been there for days. And, you know, you kind of just go down this spiral of, oh, God, I suck here. I suck there. I suck there. Wow, I'm just a whole being of suck. Right? I'm just here to kind of just say, hey, you know, someone who's been there, somebody that goes there, just kind of reel yourself back and just say, hey, it's okay. In this point in time, it's okay. Whatever rut that you're in, it's human to be in a rut, right? Just take a step back and just relax. Accept that, hey, you know, I am in a spiral. I should probably just stop. You know what? That's okay. I'll stop spiraling, and then hopefully I'll either maintain where I am, as in not spiral any further, and then when the time is right, when I'm easier on myself, maybe I'll just go back the other direction. At the end of the day, I think that's really what I wanted to say. You know, I really jumped into this not planning to record or talk about anything specific, but that's really what came to mind. That's actually probably what I really wanted to talk about. So be easy on yourself, take it easy, and just recognize that there's no rhyme or reason of why we're here. I admire and am a bit jealous of those who have their quote-unquote life's purpose. But for those of us who are left, it's okay to not feel like you have a purpose, at least for the time being, right? Because feeling like you're left out because somebody else has a purpose, that almost leads you to adopting a purpose or purposes, almost like adopting a purpose that you're not fully 100% into, and you're just kind of taking on just because you don't want to be lacking a purpose in your life. And to that I say, it's better to not have a purpose than to have a purpose that you believe you want and you actually don't. So, be easy on yourself. Don't worry about whatever your purpose may be. But if you do find whatever that is, it should be something that gives you energy and something that makes you excited to wake up for the day.